I want to talk today about the hi, Mary. How are you? If you're watching the replay or joining me, please say hi to me. I'd love to hang out. Um, I've been thinking a lot about the fear of success. I did a one-on-one session this week with someone, where we're drafting her 30 notes in 30 minutes. And what I realize is what holds so much of us back from writing more authentically. Like write in an article, I think our fear of success doesn't come up as much because when we write an article, we have plenty of time to be able to like unpack our thought. But when we write a note, a short form piece of content, I think a lot more of our writing blocks come up because we're like, how can I say something powerful in one sentence, right? Like, is what I have to say enough? Or I think sometimes shorter form content makes us overthink a little more. Do you guys notice that too? I feel like that's true for me. And why I think a lot of other social media platforms are hard because, like for example, Instagram, literally when you're writing a caption, it will cut you off if you write too long. And so I just think there's a lot more, like when we are forced to be more concise, I think that's where a lot of our blockers can come up. And I don't know about for you, but for me, fear of success is always bigger than fear of failure. And I find for most of my clients, it's not like, what if I do this and it doesn't work? You know that at the end of the day, anything you put your mind to, you're going to figure out. Anything you put your mind to, you're persistent, you're resilient, you're not going to give up. So, what are we afraid of then? We're afraid of what if this works and I lose control, right? For me, it was like, what if this works and it makes me a bad mom? What if this works? And so I think we really have this blocker around it. But what I wanted to share this week in the challenge is in many ways, this challenge went a lot better than I expected. Way more people signed up, way more people participated. And so it was really, we're afraid of success because it goes out of our control, right? We're afraid of in some ways, we want to be successful. We want our followings to grow. We want to make more money. But you know what's really interesting is when our life changes, we're not in control. Even good change, even beautiful change, right? And so for me, this week in the challenge, I lost control a little bit, right? Like there was way more people that signed up and participated than I thought. It's a good problem, right? But you know what happened? You guys stepped in for each other. You guys supported each other in a way more like yes, the challenge turned out different than I thought it would, but it turned out better. Right? Because it wasn't just me. And I think we forget when we are afraid of our success, we're afraid of making more money, we're afraid of our content performing really well. We forget that when we let go of control, it's good because it lets other people step in. It lets the community be support. Like we never want to do it alone anyway, right? Like as our brand and our business and our mission gets bigger, yes, it gets out of control, but your brand, your business, your mission, your vision was never meant for you to hold alone. It was never meant for you to control, right? And I think there's something vulnerable about that. There's something unnerving about that. But for me, as I've seen that happen time and time again in my business, is also freeing. And so the question I want you to ask yourself today is as your business and brand grows, as we in 2026, as your Substack grows, right? Are you willing to let go of control a little bit? Are you willing to let it take a life of its own, right? Like maybe you have an idea of what you want your success to look like, of what you want to write about on Substack, but are you willing to let go a little bit and trust that maybe it's going to go even better than you planned? Maybe it's going to reach even more people than expected, but maybe it's going to look a little different. But that's okay. That's a good thing. Hi, Maureen. How are you? Happy Saturday. Let me know in the chat box if that's something that you've ever seen in your life or business. Where there's something that ended up going better than you thought, but also different than you thought. But ultimately realizing that I know for me, I feel very supported by my community, by my friends, by the universe, right? And so I think when we have this belief that, like, at the end of the day, we're supported, I think we're willing to let go a little bit more around, like, what success looks like around. I don't know. I know for me, like I like to be organized. I like to have everything go a certain way. And so I just think it's useful to remember that. It was reminded again for me this week as the challenge went so well. It was like, okay, no, other ladies are stepping in. Okay, no, everyone's okay. Everyone's covered. I don't have to be afraid of this getting big because ultimately the universe has my back, but also you guys have each other's back too. So don't be afraid of it. And an exercise I like to do, ask myself to be able to continue to clear my visibility blocks, is I'll ask myself, if this went great, right? Like, so maybe for you, it's like, if my Substack did hit 100 subscribers in 1 week, if my business did start making 10K a month, what would I most be afraid of? And how can I handle that now? How can I pre solve that problem so that I'm giving myself permission to expand? And yes, there are pros and cons of staying where you're at right now. And there's pros and cons of getting bigger and growing and becoming more successful. But I don't know about you, but once it's like a snake that sheds its skin or something, right? Like once your skin starts to shed, yeah, you can like try to grip it on. Yeah, you can try to like glue it with an Elmer's glue stick back on. But ultimately, when your skin starts to shed, right? Yes, it's uncomfortable to let go. Have you guys seen a few years ago in my parents' backyard? We had these beautiful caterpillars that turned into monarch butterflies. And it looked very painful, the process that they go through to turn into a chrysalis and then a butterfly. So yes, it's painful to change. Yes, it's painful to succeed. It's painful to grow. But you and I think is even more painful, especially as ambitious women, is staying the same. And so, which discomfort will you choose? Which hard will you choose? I would love to hear it. And again, just a big, big thank you for joining me in the challenge this week. It was such a blessing to see you guys rise and stand up for each other, and just feeling really grateful for you this weekend.